All right, guys. We kind of said this a couple weeks ago, but now we're a little bit later into November, and even more to play for. So from that standpoint, it's exciting. We all know what's ahead. The next 3 weeks, I think it's Boise, Colorado State, and Air Force, the top three offenses in this league. You look at Boise, they're number one in the league in offense, number one in the league in defense. So certainly, and then you look at Colorado State, who slapped us pretty good the last couple of years, and then we all know what Air Force is. But it's exciting. It's exciting just to be in it, have the opportunity to play for something here late in November, and it's encouraging. I think our kids are excited. We're excited, and we know the challenge ahead. So, Rick, you want to start it off?
Yesterday morning, on the radio, you kind of, I wouldn't say challenged, but certainly encouraged fans to come out and support the team the last two home games. You hadn't done a lot of that since you've been here. Is it just time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm never going to say what people should do or shouldn't do. I understand, finances of things. I understand culture of things. But I also think that, when I first came here, I talked a lot about, for us to get to 6 or 7 wins, we needed people to come out and help us grow, not wait till we get 6 and 7 wins to come out. We still are, we still have some deficiencies, but we play really hard. I think we're pretty fun to watch. I think we have good teams coming into the stadium. I mean, Utah State, the last couple of years in this league is as good as there's been. And then Colorado State and Air Force. So it wasn't meant anyway that in a negative. I just think there's a pretty good product out there, and I think just when I felt here that football can be good for Albuquerque. I really believe football can add something to this community. You just look at revenue, even now the way it is when the Lobos win, just talking to different business owners, they sell a little more food, they sell a little more alcohol, the mood's better, and I think football can be good for Albuquerque. I think, I understand that it may not be the easiest fit, maybe. It is a little different here. Is that when I took the press conference, I said what I loved about this place, it is quirky, and I still appreciate that. It's not Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's not Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's not. I think it's unique in its own way. So in a positive way, not in a negative way, because I certainly appreciate the people that come out. And I say this, it's amazing for as few of people that are there, how much atmosphere there is, and how much help it can be with those people there, just to help us win a game. So that's to me the thing. I think it can be a good experience. I think it can be fun. I think they can have a chance to help us win, and I appreciate the people that come out. And I just think for the number of people that are there, the little atmosphere that generated is pretty darn good. I think back to some of these games we've won. What have we won now? 5 of our last 6 at home?
Yes,
5 of our last 6 at home. I mean, that's pretty good. And at times, there may not be many left, or if it gets a little cold, they may have to go to the other side to try to stay in the sun, or maybe like against New Mexico State, the students come the first half and then leave. I understand all that, and I'm not being negative at all towards all that. I just think a little bit more, this can be really good for Albuquerque and for this community and for this state. And it's good for us to help us win. So I think people continually talk about what they want, then come out and help us get what you want, because you can certainly be a positive influence on this. But I'm in no way saying in a negative way at all, man. There's a lot of great fans come out and been out there through the hard times, and we've certainly given them some hard times, but they can make a difference.
How about you win a ball game, and you won this past weekend, and so much to play for. You had a lot to play for in the first place, but I'm just saying that just upped the ante a little bit.
Yeah, exactly right. I told our players, I reminded them again today, during the open week, on our last practice before we left to go home. This is the week before we played Utah State with the open date. I said, we're 4-4. We're okay. We're 2-2. We're okay. We've probably beaten some teams that people thought we had a chance to beat. We're kind of pesky, you've heard me say it before. And I said, but honestly, when you go home this weekend, be proud of what we are, but also envision in your back of your mind, if we can beat Utah State, how quickly the story changes to, boy, New Mexico's right on the verge of getting that thing turned around. Boy, New Mexico's for real. New Mexico got a chance to play for the conference championship. They got a chance to go to a bowl game. And I said, you did that. I said, you did that. So that's where we are now. We've taken the next step of giving ourselves an opportunity to gain some more respect. And obviously with Boise State coming up, people are going to want to see, was it a fluke? We've got the biggest test we could possibly have with them having an open date, playing up there at 8:15, all those things. It's as big a test as we possibly can have. But we've put on ourselves in a position to be in the hunt. If somebody said before the season we'd have 5 wins with 3 games left and 2 of those games at home, probably would have taken that, if you're honest about where we are in this program. Now, maybe it would have happened a little different way, and there's no real way to know that, but, probably would have taken that. So that kind of gets back to Rick's point. I think if you look at it, we're the 3rd most improved team in the country on defense. That's total defense, that's rushing defense, and I think that's scoring defense basically. We still got some limitations, but we're pretty good. So with that said, man, it's fun to be in it.
Coach, right after a game, there were those cliche words, if you will. You saw their eyes before, during, and after the game. What was it that actually won that game for your team?
Energy, total commitment to trying to be more sudden technique-wise. The things that we talked about over the open date that we're missing. I think we did a good job in the open date of communicating, looking at ourselves, seeing exactly what we looked like, what we were, and then giving them a vision of what we thought we had to be to win. Again, we have to be still unique in what we do and how we do it to win. We are at times outmanned. We're still not past that point yet where we've, just kicked in with older, more mature players. And I think the players did a good job, man. I think they found a little bit of the missing ingredient that we haven't had. And we got some breaks. Just like you deserve every once in a while to get a break. And we got some breaks.
How did the conference explain to you the Kimmy Carson hit and why he had to be suspended for half a game?
It's simple, and it was the right call. It was the right decision. Kimmy dropped his helmet down a little bit. He came in a little bit high, and he hit Kent Myers high in the helmet. I mean, that he could have injured the kid. He didn't mean to. It was a heck of a hit. It was just a reaction, but the conference made the right decision. He misses the first half of the game. He can warm up, he can travel, he can do all those things, and then he can play the second half. So it was absolutely the right decision. It's clearly written.
It was him just flying around trying to make a play. It seemed like, watching it back, it seemed like he was just trying to get there before the kid threw it.
Yeah, all of that was great. He was, he can get from A to B pretty quick, and he can deliver a blow. It's just at the moment of impact, he was a little bit high and his helmet was down where he kind of made contact with the crown of the helmet. So it was absolutely the right call. And the only thing, and this doesn't pertain to this specific situation, I do think we ought to look at, is it overkill a little bit for the player to not even be allowed to be on the sidelines when it happens? In other words, he can warm up, but then he has to leave the sidelines and go somewhere else for the first half. Or if it happens during a game, do you really need to take the player and just take him to the locker room? Are we really going to put him back in, or what are we going to do, put a different number on him and try to sneak him back in? It might be a little overkill to me for the player to have to not even be there You know, what's the difference if he's there on the sidelines with, 67 other kids with our traveling party? So, but the rule is 100% what the rule is. The right decision was made. I just think it may be a little bit overkill to say you can't even be on the sidelines.
So, Coach, with that said, the technique, I watched that play so many times on the replay. Is it because of the years of teaching head-to-head tackling?
No, the kid was trying to make a play. Let's not go into to the whole tackling technique, what we're teaching. I understand rugby tackle. I've heard the thing talked about a lot. The kid was trying to make a play. The quarterback was scrambling. He was busting his ass, and he hit him high. That's all. It's not what we're teaching. It's not rugby tackle. Rugby tackle is not the answer to everybody's problems across the country. Everybody's teaching rugby tackling just like we do. He hit a little bit high in the heat of battle, right?
Coach, it might be, go ahead.
Similar question to kind of what Van was asking, the way you opened, but just being in this position with 5 wins, the most you've had here, the most this team's had since 2007, just what does it mean from a program standpoint and the progress that you can see just by looking at a record for maybe the fan that doesn't watch every week?
It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be in November, to put a good college football product on the field in a pretty good environment, and to see if we can bring college football to Albuquerque, all of us. That's what it is. When I came here, that's what my vision was. That's what my goal was. We're still not there, but we will get there. And that's why I think we need other people to understand specifically what this program really, truly is and what it's going to take to get it here. And then if enough people are passionate, I think our players are passionate enough, I know our coaches are passionate enough, we know who we are, we know what we are. I think everybody at some point has to buy into what reality is and have our little niche, our little niche in Albuquerque, New Mexico, of what we have to do to build this program. And again, I understand the uniqueness of this place. I understand the culture of this place. I understand maybe we have a little bit more of a commuter student body. I understand all of that. So I don't think any of us are asking for too much. We understand the uniqueness, but we can bring college football here, and it can be good for everybody. It can be good for everybody. So, that's what I see. We're another step closer to that. It's been a grind. It will continue to be an absolute grind just because of the uniqueness of the place. But it's doable. It's doable. And we can carve out our little niche. And people need to take pride in what it is and what we are, everybody, and go and see if we can do it.
I don't want to get ahead of what you're doing, but just from a standing standpoint, technically, if you guys were to win out, you could actually win the division, play for a conference title and all that stuff. But,
Yeah, it's absolutely what it is. We understand the challenge, but we're not conceding anything. We're going to try to be better this week than we were last week. And if we can do that, we'll have our opportunities. I understand last year's game, what it was against Boise. We were all here. If we would have got a break or two, maybe we could have done it then. We were close. Again, we're in the position to see if we can get some positive energy out of this and get to the next step. And
Coach, like you said, Boise State, one of the best defenses in the country. Just what do they do so well?
Systematically, whether it's offense or defense, they've had tremendous continuity there. Go back and look at Boise State. They've had a few different faces, but systematic-wise, it's the same system year after year after year after year. And continuity, particularly at places like the Mountain West Conference, is so important because you're trying to squeeze out that extra amount. If you're at Alabama or you're at Florida or you're at some places, you can go in and maybe, you can change systems and all of a sudden you're going to go quickly. And Boise's a little bit different because they are a Power 5 school. Boise could be in any league in the country. But continuity, and they found their little niche. They found their little niche, and they're impressive. They're very well coached, and they play extremely fast because they're comfortable in what they do.
Coach, you thinking about, I know you guys found your identity as far as running and stuff like that, but you might even throw a little bit more, be encouraged by what Delane Harvey would have with him?
Yeah, we're sputtering a little bit on offense. There's no hiding that. We're not quite what we've been, and we've seen it since the Mississippi Valley State game. I've seen it, where we're not quite the same. We're not as precise as we've been. We're not as clean as we've been. We don't get the plays on the inside run like we've gotten in the past. We're really trying to address, again, what exactly gives us the best chance to win in these last 3 games. There is an element of getting the ball out a little bit quicker and doing some little different things. But when all the dust settles, we do have an identity, and what's going to make the difference for us is being more precise and getting our guys to play better on offense. It always comes back to that. So, there's not going to be much schematic change. I mean, that'd be the biggest mistake we could make. We need to do what we do better. We really do. We really do. And we're seeing a little bit of the fruits of that on defense, as bad as it's been. We are finally now starting to reap a little bit of the rewards. And we have 10 starters back on defense next year. We're finally starting to reap some rewards of just being consistent, not panicking, trying to find our little identity of what our guys can do. So there's not going to be a whole lot of changes, Van. We just need to play better.
Coach, the backs are the same, the quarterbacks are the same. Is it line play right now?
I mean, that's pretty simple, right? I mean, we lost Toye Adawan, that would be an NFL player without any doubt in my mind. We lost Johnny Visciano, who I think was an NFL player at about 305 pounds. I don't know that any program, but our program, being where we are, to take 2 guys like that away, that we actually redshirted one of them, right, and redshirted both of them and built those guys up the right way, and then to have those guys taken away in camp, that's a huge blow for us. That's an absolute huge blow. And it's hard to overcome that. And, Mahina is really a really good guard. Mahina's played center all year, and that's a little bit not exactly what he is. And I love Romine. He comes in, and we've gotten a lot of mileage out of Dylan Romine as a 50-year senior. We've got a lot of mileage out of Brian Oldenkamp. Reno's been injured. I'm not making excuses, but there's a reason why, as you say. The running backs are the same, the quarterback's the same, the scheme is basically the same. It's just we took a major hit up in there. And at the last second, I mean, there was no time to do much other than to move Chris Lewis and Jack Ziltz over to offense. Both of them had never played offense, and now Chris Lewis, he actually played 25 plays Saturday against Utah State, and we need Chris Lewis to come on. So I appreciate, but with that said, we can be better, and we can be more precise, and we can be more efficient. We're not as clean overall as we've been. I admit that as well. It's the combination of those 2 things now.
So is it Toye and Johnny bigger, or is it just guys?
Have you seen Toye? Have you ever seen Toye in person?
Sure. But I mean, they can't move guys. Is that kind of what it is?
It's kind of what it is.
Okay.
51 came back and started for Utah State. He'd been out for 2 games, and 95 came back and started for Utah State. He'd been out 2 games. So what San Diego State did and what Wyoming Brian Hill did a little bit, all of a sudden that whole dynamic completely changed. It's back to 51 at nose. The kid had transferred from Arizona State that was 310 pounds, and it was back to 95 out there healthy again. And that landscape dramatically changed just by those 2 guys coming back. So if it had been flipped and our 2 guys would have come back, just say Johnny and Toye came back Saturday, and their 2 guys didn't, it probably looked a lot like it looked last year. It's within all that, it's still the players. It's still players. Always at the end is the biggest thing.
You started at Oldenkamp and went to Chris Lewis and then went back to Oldenkamp. Were you just looking for somebody who could block those 2 guys?
Oldie had a little difficult couple snaps in there, and we made a decision. And yeah, I mean, Chris Lewis is a giant, and he's got a tremendous upside. He needs a little more motor, needs a little more juice, but he's gives us some bulk and size in there, and strength, and we need to keep him going. And that's why.
A large portion of this conference is, a big-time rushing attack, and this week it's kind of the opposite of that. I'm sure they can run the football, but they throw the ball with great effectiveness.
Yeah.
What's the preparation like this?
You hit the nail on the head. That's the exact story of this game. We are a big blitz defense. We do attack. We do come after people as much as anyone in the country. And teams have continually tried to run the ball against us. This team will come out and throw the ball on us. They have changed a little bit from what they were last year. If you remember last year, they had the running quarterback that he was fast, and we had a hard time handling him. And he was a big factor in this game, running the football. And then they had the big tailback, Ajay. Now, with the freshman quarterback, he's a true drop back, 4-year starter, end up being as good as any kid in the country, I think, before this is all over. And they have all those receivers back. They still can run it. You said it exactly right. They can run it, but they throw it more than they run it. And the UNLV game, their last game, before the open date, by the way, they're coming off an open date. We wanted to make it, we really wanted a challenge, so we made sure they had that. They threw for about 500 yards against UNLV with a freshman quarterback. Really talented receiver, really talented quarterback. They're the first true team that will come out and try to shred us throwing the football. Wyoming did it a little bit as the game went on. This team will come out and try to throw it on us.
Any former athlete in this room that's played, been in the athletic fire, a uniform that makes you sharper, you feel like you're sharp, you play sharper.
Yeah.
Has the new look uniform aided your team in inspiration or feeling that way?
It's interesting you bring that up. I mean, I don't even know what site it is, but there's a site that picks the best college uniform of the week. We had already been on it earlier when we wore those gray jerseys and red pants. I think it was against New Mexico State, right, Brian?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then this past week, they picked us 5th in the country. And it was Miami 1st, Oklahoma State 2nd, West Virginia 3rd, and Oregon 4th, and New Mexico 5th. So I talked to our players this morning about, again, it's nice to just be in the conversation. It's nice to be in the conversation. So 2 weeks, again, that site, whatever it is, picking the best uniform, we've been in it. At least we're on the radar. At least we're on the radar. That game was on national television, CBS Sports. A lot of people saw it. So we're kind of in the conversation for some good things, right? It wasn't too long ago, I don't think we were in there for a lot of bad things. It's kind of nice to be in there for some good things. So if it's the uniform, I'll take it. Good question, though.
What can you say about Nick Diavanzo? He played such a great game, and is there something that maybe he was hurting before and now he's in better shape? Now he's not. I don't know. He just played such a great game.
Nick's an interesting guy. Nick, 2 years ago when we played at Boise, the last game of the year, which was an 8-15 game, I think, Nick was the starting nose guard in that game as a true freshman. Nick's played a lot of football, but Nick kind of has been the same. And we really, truly challenged him. We've challenged him all year. But it kind of went beyond challenge during the open date. Because, again, we tried to take a snapshot of what each guy really was and what they looked like, and truly what they were putting on tape. And then tried to make the comparison to some other players we have seen and made cut-ups of that and said, okay, I'll truly sit down and look at this and let's. Nick probably made the most improvement of anybody on our team, of truly playing technique, truly taking every down and putting his name on it and taking pride in what he does every play. And it paid off for him. He played his best game. And he's been a good player. He's been, again, kind of pesky, but he hasn't really taken the next step to be what we hope he could be. And he took a little step towards that. So he's probably kind of like our team a little bit, He finally did it for a whole game. So he's been fine physically. He's got a couple thumbs that are hurt and different things, but, he played. He played, and he dug in.
And not call holding on that play. The ankle
Yeah.
tackle, he got basically.
Yeah, he got tackled on that play. He did get tackled on that play. Of course, I'm not going to say too much because that holding on that screen pass of theirs, on the big one that they called back, I'm just going to lay low now on those holding passes. All's good in my world right now with the conference. All right, man, we good?
Thank you.
All right, man.